It's the anti-tracker.
We will return to your scheduled programming shortly, or we are currently experiencing technical difficulty.
What is going on YouTube? Michael J. Crawford, the Anti-Tracker here, and today is a doubly special occasion. 30 years ago today, the World Wide Web was born. 29 years ago today, Dr. Mabatu was born, which means that shortly after the invention of the World Wide Web, a couple of months later, someone probably invented internet porn, got a little overly excited, and then conceived Dr. Mabatu. That's just a little too much of a coincidence, don't you think? So I think that, and plus, now you're making me feel even older than I usually feel, Dr. Mabatu, because of the fact that when the World Wide Web was invented 30 years ago on this date, me and Mrs. Anti-Tracker had already been together for 2 years. And stop it, Mercer, with "this is my last appearance." You better not disappear on me. I'm gonna have to do something about that. Zoom says your super chat list is still gone. It is not gone. You just don't see it. It is in the description box below, because a couple of you last night, when I had it set up like this, said, "Ooh, that looks so much better like that. Put your super chat list in the description." So I listen. See, I am not CBS or Lucasfilm. I actually listen to the people that watch my content. I will never be here because my comments are not valid. That's not true, Mercer. If your comments were not valid, then I wouldn't be arguing with you right now. And Checker, I still remember 78 RPM records. Oh, yes, absolutely. You had to have that stupid little plastic thing that you put into the 78 or the 45 so that it would play on a standard disc player. Yeah, it was crazy. Glad to see your super chats in the description. Thank you, Mr. Miles. What would you do without us? I'd be working at Waffle House without you guys. And the Emperor's New super chat list? No, Alex, it's not invisible. You're just, you see, I know you're English, so it takes you a little longer than the rest of us to comprehend this kind of stuff. But if you look in the description of this video, you will see the list, including, by the way, the new super chat, which is on that list. I'll let you try to find it. Mercer says, I'll take a free super chat. All right, Mercer. So you want a free super chat so that you won't abandon the channel? Is that what you're saying? And Captain George is here. Wow. Well, the miracles never cease. Captain George has come out of his cave, and I wonder if he saw his shadow and we'll get 6 more weeks of winter, or however that works. You don't listen to me. That's true, Mr. Miles. I don't generally listen to you. But now it's just blank space. What, the super chat description? I'm pretty sure it's there. I can see it. What's the news sticker above your head? Put the news sticker above your head. You didn't listen to that. Wow, you guys are just picky. I tried. Okay, all right, fine. You're gonna be that way. Let's see. Where's the news ticker? We'll just bring it on up here, and let's see. We'll go all the way to the edge on that side, and on this side, we'll go to here. Let's put it right about there, and let's see. Bear with me, since you guys are making me do art on the fly. Alright. There. How's that? I want to see Keith David on Orville. I could see that. Enter now. Now it's time to ask your son to do anti-tricker working on the Waffle House Super Chat. Oh, stop it. No. Hey, anti-tricker, is disco really dead? It absolutely is, and we have proof. We absolutely have proof. I can't see the description. Thomas, you can't see the description. Well, I know you have the list memorized, so you're okay. What are you watching the stream on? Are you on your phone? Because if so, you should still be able to see the description. The new one is number 10. Yes, that is very true. And Dr. Alex says, no 10? Yes, Super Chat 2. All right, you want Super Chat number 2. And then you say Keith David. It's not Keith David, I don't think.
In deepest squat, on coldest seat, bite your lip and grab 3 sheets. In brownest night and daylight too. Beware my power, brown lanterns poo! Hey, didn't we do this joke already?
And Thomas says, how's your back? Number 8. My back is a little sore today. I'm not going to lie. This is not going to be my favorite day today when I'm at work, because this chair is not particularly comfortable. And with what happened yesterday with the back, that's just going to aggravate it. But nothing I can do, because I don't really have any time I can take off from work because of all the stuff with Mrs. Anti-Tricker's mother earlier this year. But number 8 it is.
Analna trach, was betad, doch jeldienne.
Ariel Natris Oris Bazi Bedhead Juice Shell Dementa. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, BIRDOPREY's not so sure on that, but it still really improves the quality of that film. Dr. Alex says, this looks weird not being able to see your den. Well, you still see it, you just don't see all of it. You just see my fish tank, which is right there. How's the aftermath of the fall? Yeah, not doing that great with that, but nothing I can really do about it. I just got to suck it up and work through it. Internet sucks today. See you. All right, Admiral, take care of yourself. Thomas says, tablet. You're watching on a tablet. You should be able to see the description on a tablet. See the den. What, you have cat's eyes? Not, wow, you guys are like being weird. Thank you, says Mercer Create. Well, you see, you are not irrelevant around here. Cobra. Okay, that thing was pitch black. Well, it was pitch black for a second there. Enter, you need to work a TARDIS porta potty into your turd and sci-fi theme. It's perfect. Well, there's a TARDIS right there behind me. Right, see, TARDIS right there. What more do you want? The good thing is that now we can see everything. Yes, good. Good? Okay. Orville doesn't do captain's logs. That's true, which is kind of too bad. I like the captain's log trope that they do on Star Trek. I think that would work on Orville. I understand they probably avoided it just so that they don't appear to be too much like Star Trek, but yeah. The Orville needs to feature a bathroom at some point. Not a pee corner, but a real restroom. I agree, they should do that at some point. So far, the only science fiction series that I can think of off the top of my head where we got to see the bathroom in detail was Babylon 5. Last night was crazy crowded, 80 plus people, new record. pretty close. I think I'll have to go back and look, but I think my actual record is I think I broke 100 once, but I'm not 100% sure. The Doctor Who Aquaman crossover is playing behind Anti-Trigger. Well, I see Doctor Who, I don't see Aquaman. So John, that's an interesting assertion. Psycho, first film to have a toilet flush. That is actually true. Hey, Anti-Trekker, up to 7,600 subs, and BIRDOPREY is over 250. Nice, absolutely. And that's after I took a little bit of a hit on my subs, because unfortunately for me, being the idiot that I am, I decided to stick to my guns and insist that despite the fact that it is definitely a flawed movie, I actually enjoyed Captain Marvel, and a lot of people didn't appreciate me saying that. So, yeah. What do you think of Bortus's brother, Christopher Judge, and his husband, Tim Russ, with their son, Jake Sisko? For Jake's wedding minister is Michael Dorn. Jake's first officer from his ship is Jadzia. That would be a hilarious set of cameos. If they could actually pull that off, that would be amazing, Zoom. I would love to see Michael Judge or Christopher Judge do something, because honestly, yeah, I don't know, does he do anything besides the con circuit? Anti-Trekker likes Captain Marvel, unsubbing. Yeah, I know. Well, I didn't say I like Brie Larson, and do keep in mind that I'm separating the actress from the character, number one, and number two, I've said and I maintain that unfortunately, you see, Captain Marvel has the same problem that Star Trek Discovery does, except not as severe, which is that the worst problem of Captain Marvel is the character of Captain Marvel. Just like the worst part of Star Trek Discovery is, of course, Michael Burnham. And both of them drag their respective shows down. The difference is that everything around Captain Marvel is really, really good. Where everything around Michael Burnham has been, for the most part, at best, mediocre, and more commonly, crap. However, I would dare say that in the last episode or two of Star Trek Discovery, the stuff around Michael has been good. And the very last episode of Star Trek Discovery, for the first time, I actually enjoyed scenes that featured Michael Burnham. And it was because of her, and it's not, this is not a slight against Sonequa Martin Green, but it was Ethan Peck that really brought Michael Burnham out as a human character, because his portrayal of Spock and the chemistry he had with Michael was spot on brother and sister infighting, and I loved it. It was so well done. It honestly made me think of my childhood. And I do have a sister that's a couple of years older than me. If someone unsubs from your channel because of a difference of opinion on a movie, we're probably better off without them. Well, yes and no. We're better off without them as far as attitude, but I'm not as good off without them, because that means less people viewing my videos, and I'm a greedy bastard. Anti-Trekker, what's the most powerful, most impressive feat we've seen Thor do on screen? Take a star to the chest. That's the most impressive thing I've seen from Thor. Thor took a star to the chest and lived. Granted, he would have died had he not gotten a hold of Stormbreaker, but he took a star to the chest and lived. Nothing that anybody else has done. Well, you're right, to the back. He was really his, but you know what I'm saying. He took the full force of that star and was not instantly evaporated. So, yeah, that would be his most powerful feat. He also, keep in mind, did go toe-to-toe with the Hulk twice. And it is clear that with his hammer, he can easily best the Hulk twice. So, yeah, I think Thor is clearly a powerhouse. But as far as Captain Marvel, it's hard to gauge what she did compared to them, because we haven't seen her really take a massive hit. She can definitely dish out, like when she was taking down those starships, but, you know, we don't really know the extent of her power. But quite frankly, I don't see any indication that her photon bursts are more powerful than Thor ripping out his lightning. Because keep in mind, Thor also with his lightning was able to single-handedly take out an entire squadron of Chitauri, including a couple of those flying worm dragon things. So I think that we should not underestimate Thor's power. And that was before he got the level up in Ragnarok. Anti-Trucker, taking a start at the back is something being done to him. I'm talking about a display of power like he actually ripped through any spaceships. Well, that would be like when, like I said, in the first Avengers movie, when he used a single burst of lightning to take down an entire squadron of Chitauri. That was pretty impressive. You guys ready for something really old? Okay, Captain, you're making me nervous. Anti-Ryan Johnson is here, says hello, and Kapla, and I did see that BIRDOPREY is finally woken up. It looks like Thor takes out some Outrider ships with one shot. Yeah, I think Thor's lightning is not to be scoffed at. And so here's your random anti-links. And then he puts a link to my server like that's some horrible thing. Wow. Some reviewers said Superman level for Captain Marvel. Others say so-so. Yeah, I'm one of the people that's like, okay, Captain Marvel is clearly powerful, but I did not see anything that she did that I don't believe that Thor and Scarlet Witch could also do. And by the way, Vision, if he was as well. I don't see anything there because I think Thor, Scarlet Witch, and Vision are clearly the three most powerful Avengers, you know, with Hulk being probably number 4. But Thor, Scarlet Witch, and Vision, it's hard to determine who's really the more powerful. But I think any one of those three could beat Hulk. Iron Man can be a powerhouse, but and we did see him go toe-to-toe with Thanos longer than the Hulk did. But you know, we'll see. But Thor is the only one who actually managed to muscle his way through the Infinity Gauntlet at full power. No, the joke is I haven't done it in a long time. Well, Captain George, it seems like the joke was that you hate giving the anti-links. I'm just saying. Hey, Captain, can I request that you process the Discord levels? You can request that he does that. Who is this Captain George? Good question. I was just trying to figure that out myself. Zoom says, Antrekker, what I would love to see is Thor versus a Celtic lightning god in a dick-off, both using lightning and thunder. That would be ass balls. Well, I don't know that that would be ass balls, but it would be interesting for sure. What about Doctor Strange? Doctor Strange is that's a tough one to determine as well, because we saw Doctor Strange also going up against Thanos with 4 Infinity Stones, and lasted quite a while. And that was pretty impressive, to be sure. The problem with Doctor Strange is that his power, unlike Thor and Vision in particular, can't really be measured physically. Like, for example, if he sends you to the, I can't remember what it's called, but that alternate dimension with the crystals and stuff, how powerful an attack is this? Now, obviously, Thanos was able to counter that with the Infinity Gauntlet, but if Thanos didn't have the Infinity Gauntlet, would that have one shot at Thanos? You know, could Thor escape from that? I don't know. And so I think that would be an interesting matchup, to be sure. However, we haven't seen enough of Doctor Strange, I think, to really gauge how powerful he is at his max. Mercer says, I remember in War Games, the main character used the bathroom in the middle of a scene. That's I don't remember him using the bathroom. I remember that the general said that he'd piss on a spark plug if he thought it would help. I don't remember him using the bathroom. That just doesn't pop out to me. It's been a long time since I've seen it. The genie from Aladdin versus Thanos. Well, Thanos, clearly. The Infinity Gauntlet could dust the genie. And in fact, that's a problem with Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, is pretty much unbeatable unless he's taken by surprise, like he was by Thor. If Thanos had snapped his fingers before Stormbreaker hit him, Thanos would have won. However, Thanos wasn't thinking clearly and tried to just use raw power against Stormbreaker, and that was a mistake. Strange is really tricky. Not just powerful, but clever. It's hard to measure that. Yeah, exactly. And we don't know how many tricks he knows at this point, because Strange also has a more diverse power set than I think any other character in the MCU, because he casts magic spells, which means, and who, you know, they could write 100 new magic spells every movie he's in. So we don't know the full extent of what he can do, and probably never will know the full extent of what he can do. I wonder how powerful Thanos is. No glove, he must be to create that empire. Thanos without the glove, if you take the Infinity Stones out of the equation, Thanos is still the toughest bastard in the universe. And that was established in Guardians of the Galaxy. And it was also demonstrated, and in fact, this is confirmed by the Russo brothers, that Thanos, when Thanos punched out Hulk in the opening of Infinity War, he did it without the use of the Power Stone. While he had the Power Stone with him, the directors clearly said that he beat the Hulk fair and square. The Wave motion gun versus the Death Star laser. I don't know, but I'd have to go back. I haven't seen Star Blazers in a long time. Can the Wave motion gun take down a planet? A genuine question. I don't remember if that happened or not. Dr. Manhattan versus Thanos with all Infinity Stones. Whoever strikes first wins. I've said that before. People have asked that one before. If you have two godlike beings that doesn't matter, MCU, DECU, whatever. But if you have two godlike beings like that going at it, then whoever strikes first wins. Thanos is clearly the single most powerful being in the MCU. However, if you have a being that can literally disintegrate someone with a thought, like Dr. Manhattan can, and going up against another being that can disintegrate you with a thought, like Thanos can with the Infinity Gauntlet, then yeah, whoever disintegrates the other first wins. That's pretty much it. A better comparison would be the Macross Buster Cannon versus the Yamato. And I assume is that a Legends thing, or maybe from the animated shows, because I don't know what that one is. In War Games, no, when David invited the girl to his room to change her grade, she stepped out to use the bathroom. Okay, I don't remember that, but I will take your word for it. I haven't seen War Games in a very long time. Peter Quinn is in the house, says, hey, Anti-Trekker and all. Hey, how you doing? And Captain George tells Hector it has been done. So I assume you've updated some stuff on Discord. Thank you. I think old BSG had great special effects and neat laser sounds. Agreed. I love the sound effects from the old BSG. Particularly the fact that the Cylons and the human laser sound effects were very distinct, very unique, and yeah, just and I really like that. And once again, Captain George is sighing about the fact that he's giving out random links. Thanks, Captain George. You're really, really playing it up well. I appreciate that. Probably Dr. Manhattan, then, since he doesn't need to move his fingers. That's true. However, again, if Thanos strikes first, though, Doctor, that's the thing. If Thanos strikes Dr. Manhattan before Manhattan strikes Thanos, then I think Dr. Manhattan is just as dead. The Macross Buster Cannon is the main cannon of SDF-1 from the old anime Macross. Oh, okay, well, I've never seen Robotech, so that's why I didn't know about it. So, fair enough. Did you ever see Buck Rogers in the late 70s? Yes. Starring Gil Gerard and Aaron Gray. Yes, I did enjoy the heck out of Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Not as good as Battlestar Galactica, in my opinion, but a good show. Peter Quinn says Manhattan. They had a droid called Twinkie. Actually, it was Tweaky, not Twinkie. Common mistake. A lot of people thought he was Twinkie, but it was Tweaky. So take out the IN of Twinkie and you have his name. And Twinkie would say, beady, 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 hey, Buck. And then Dr. Theophilus was always strapped to his chest and would say, well, Dr. Rogers, I have examined this. And basically it was like, imagine if you had Dr. Alex strapped to a box hanging from your neck. It's Dr. Theophilus. Thanos versus Thane, his biological son. I don't know. I never read anything with Thane in it. I gave up on comics in the 90s, so I assume Thane came around sometime in the 90s or 2000s. Alex, I was imagining a quick draw situation. Yeah, but you see, I think that whichever one, honestly, if Dr. Manhattan, because Dr. Manhattan is not a particularly aggressive character where Thanos is. So that's why I think even though Dr. Manhattan may not have to move physically like Thanos would to, wrong hand, do this finger snap, I don't necessarily think that means that Dr. Manhattan automatically loses, because he might be sitting there just kind of thinking about it, and then bam. What about Species 8472 Combined Ship Planet Buster Beam Anti-Tracker? Well, if you're talking about versus the Death Star, I think Species 8472 would have a distinct advantage because they could swarm the Death Star with those ships, and their weapons are obviously powerful enough to cut through the hull and get to the core. Even a single ship would do massive damage. And so I don't think the Death Star would stand up to a squadron of 8472. Philip says, it's a bit cheesy if you didn't grow up, but it's a fun universe. I believe you. Greatest American Hero versus Thanos. That would definitely go to Thanos, but I would be rooting for Mr. H all the way. I like the crossover retelling the story in Robotech. Okay. Well, not having seen it, couldn't give you an honest opinion. Second season voice was horrible. I will take your word for that. Batman will find a way to beat everyone, Anti-Checker, and Stark too. Well, here's the thing. Now, Stark and in fact, I actually kind of like the way that Thanos acknowledges Stark in Infinity War, where he says, you're not the only one cursed with knowledge. And so I do think that Stark, given enough time, could in fact come up with a strategy to beat Thanos. However, would Thanos give him that chance? And so, R.I.P. Carl Masick, who Carl F. Masick was a American screenwriter, script editor, and voice actor. Looks like he did a lot of Robotech, which is why I'm assuming you're saying that. So yes, rest in peace. He was, well, he's been dead for a while. So he was born in 1951, died in 2010. So he was only, 59 years old when he died. Or no, yeah, 59 years old when he died. So thanks for reminding me that I'm close to that age. Thank you so much. Thanos can see the future. Strange, like, won't he be prepared for... Thanos can see the future. Strange, like, won't he be prepared for anything? You would think, but... Remember, Thanos is not omniscient or omnipotent, and he would have to actually go through the effort of looking into the future. But we'll see what he does in Endgame. Rocky versus Thanos has to be Rocky going the distance 15 rounds. Rocky would last about 3 seconds before Thanos simply killed him. Just started watching Star Trek TOS. I have a quick question. When did they change James R. Kirk to James T, and was there any meaning behind the R? No, that was, in fact, the tombstone you see in where No Man Has Gone Before is the one and only reference to James R. Kirk. And so, and that was the pilot. And so basically in the pilot, they'd made James R. Kirk, and he never said James T. Kirk in the pilot. And then later on, though, it just became James T. Kirk. So it was just that the middle initial had not been written yet, and the prop guys put an R on the tombstone. That's really all it was. The thing is, Robotech is like Power Rangers. It's a cartoon that takes 3 other shows that have nothing to do with each other from Japan and put them together in one universe. Sounds like it, and that could be good, but could be crap too. Edgetracker, Thanos has already given Iron Man a chance to come up with a plan by honoring his agreement with Strange. Well, that's true, and we'll see what happens with that. That could be Thanos' undoing, although I still think that the final battle is going to have Thanos and the Avengers on the same side of the fight. Doc is here saying greetings from the Med Bay. Good to see you. Yeah, he did die young. Well, semi-young. Saw the new Super Chat Tracker. Great work, very funny. Well, you should thank Joshua, not me. He did all the work. I actually, with that new Super Chat, I never saw anything. I did not suggest anything. It was written by Mrs. Anti-Trekker and produced by Joshua. And then they just showed it to me yesterday and were like, here you go. And I just died laughing. And Peter, what? Are you having a stroke? I hope you're okay, man. Hey guys, hey Commander, how you doing? Dr. Man exists throughout time, it seems. Oh, Manhattan exists throughout time, it seems, at least to an extent. True, but then so does a wielder of the Time Stone, and so it would be... I still think it'd be an even fight. Friday is the anniversary of Julius Caesar's death. Do you remember where you were when you heard it? I hate you, Thomas. Punchy the Wonder Cat versus Thanos. That is a more interesting question because Punchy the Wonder Cat's power is to absorb any incoming attack and then reflect it back in the form of a huge explosion. And so if Thanos attacked Punchy with physical force, Punchy could beat Thanos. However, if Thanos simply dusted Punchy, then Thanos would win. Death Star versus 5 Jedi in strategic locations away from Vader. 5 Jedi in their prime, I think they could pull it off. They would just have, assuming that what they had a plan, then that plan would have to be something like fight their way to some control panel where they could overload the core and then escape. Hi, how much cuts and concussions had McCoy to... how many cuts and concussions had McCoy to patch just because Enterprise doesn't have seatbelts? Probably quite a few. Wasn't R the start of Kirk's nickname at the Academy, Anti-Trekker? Not that I know of. I just know they called him the, what was it, a walking library, which there's no R in that, but maybe I'm spacing on something, Peter. Robotech is kind of a mess narratively, but Masick did a good job, as was probably a possible... good job, as was probably possible in order to get to syndication. Oh, he did as good a job as was possible. Okay, gotcha. Man, I'm not with it today. Seen the trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman? No. Is that really a thing? Ever watched a Gundam series? No, I never got into much anime. As far as anime, my experience is quite limited. Death Note, Akira... And there's like 1 or 2 others that I've seen. I've seen sporadic episodes of Sailor Moon. Honestly, I think Sailor Moon is ridiculously stupid. Yeah, not a whole lot. Let Joshua and Mrs. know, Anti-Trekker. Let them know what, that you like the super chat or something else, because the last thing you said wasn't R the start of Kirk's nickname at the Academy. You want me to let them know that the letter R was the start of his nickname, or I'm going to assume you meant that you like the super chat. Gotta go tutoring. Bah, says Dr. Alex. Well, have fun tutoring, my friend, if that's really what you're doing. He's not much of an anime fan, that's true, Mr. Miles. Adrian Man. No idea what you mean there, Peter. Anti-Ryan Johnson says, Anti-Trekker, you should have a super chat with BIRDOPREY trying to say Rocinati. Yes. Oh, man. That was hilarious. When we were trying to get BIRDOPREY to say Rocinati, And I can't pronounce it very well. I understand that, but it was hilarious to listen to. Yeah, one fun thing to do, get BIRDOPREY to read words that he's never read before. Okay, see you next year. What? I gave you a free super chat, Mercer. You're not allowed to leave. Of course, Dr. Alex, I get by. The R could have been just an unsaid middle name. A lot of people have them. True, but we know later on that it's just James Tiberius Kirk. And stop it, Mercer, with your good luck on your channel crap. You're not going anywhere. You're not allowed to. Dr. Manhattan can't die by just being disintegrated. Thanos would have to be very specific about how he would use the Infinity Stones against Thanos. I'm assuming against Dr. Manhattan. True, but the dusting effect was not just simple disintegration. It's not like getting hit with a laser and being disintegrated. He is literally using the reality stone to say these people no longer exist, period. And they're wiped out. Captain George says, Death Star versus 5 Jedi in their prime. That's an obvious problem as you do not state what type of Jedi, so I'm left to assume Jedi Padawans and Knights. I give it to the Death Star. First of all, a Jedi Padawan would not be a Jedi in their prime. And I would dare say that 5 Jedi Knights would be able to take out the Death Star without all that much difficulty, to be honest with you. The only way is that if Darth Vader was on the Death Star, then Darth Vader's job would be to hunt down and kill the 5 Jedi before one of the 5 Jedi could get to the core and cause the thing to blow up. Against Manhattan, I mean, yeah, I knew that's what you meant. I grew up with the Gundam Wings, so that was my favorite. Haven't seen them all, though. I've not seen them either. And Peter says the super chat. Yeah, I figured as much. Kirk already has a middle name. James Tiberius Roberto Kirk would be too long, yes. And it just doesn't flow right, does it? Edtricker transforming into a Sailor Scout from Sailor Moon, the next super chat. Oh, no. And don't forget, if you do have ideas for a super chat, send them to the Scarved Insect on Discord or Mrs. Antitrekker on antitrekker.com. They are the ones that are in charge of doing the super chats. Send it to them. No, not Antitrekker. Lore transforming into a Sailor Scout. That would be fun to do, actually. That would be fun to do live action. The Bluefish being very attractive, or being very active today. Yeah, the beta. I'm evil. Yes, you are. CBS staffers panic over call for 100 million in cuts. Could affect Discovery. I've heard that before. I don't know. Mercer's still saying, see you next year. Sorry, Mercer, not listening. You are not going. There are lots of, and besides, Mercer, how can you say, how can you abandon me when I created an island just for you? Come on now. I created an island for you. The Avengers versus Captain Underpants. Who would win? Well, I'm not an expert on Captain Underpants. My son used to like the Captain Underpants books. From what I understand, though, Captain Underpants' powers are he runs around in underpants. So, given that, I think the Avengers would probably win. Don't let BIRDOPREY make roads in your city. Yeah, not if you don't like swastikas. That's true. Mercer says, idea for a super chat. AT-AT squatting and dumping versions of your act. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. You should send that to him. I would definitely be down for that. Actually, you should call Doctor. Your face finally has color. Well, yeah, I know that's a new webcam, but for some reason I can't get the color settings exactly right, so I look a little purplish, a little Thanos-y, but nothing I can do about that. Until I get some better lights. Antrekker, you should call it. Oh, I just read that. Martok looks cooler with one eye than Nick Fury. I don't know. Nick Fury looks pretty badass with one eye. 0080 is also a pretty good Gundam series. Never saw any of the Gundam series. Anybody remember the anime movies on Sci-Fi Channel on Sunday morning in the 90s? I certainly do not. Captain George says, Prime is not the same as skilled, Anti-Tracker. Yoda in the original trilogy is very skilled, but far from his prime. I doubt even the Clone Wars version of Yoda was his prime. Well, prime is a combination. Prime means a person at their peak, right? So, yes, Yoda later on down the road is not at his prime because physically he was more at a peak probably a few hundred years in the past. But it's a combination of both their skill level and their physical abilities because they're Jedi. So a Jedi at their prime could be almost any age. It's just a Jedi at their peak. I turned 33 on the 27th. Well, congratulations, Mr. Miles. You have not died. Gundam Turn A is a weird series. You guys are just all on Gundam, even though I don't know jack about Gundam. The Orville is better than TNG. The crew seems more real. Any thoughts? I agree 100%. I've said it, and I know it's blasphemous to say. The Orville is a better version of Star Trek The Next Generation. The only thing you need is to make Orville truly a great show is, and don't get me wrong, I love Seth MacFarlane's writing. I love his concept. But I say replace Captain Mercer with a character like Captain Picard. And in fact, that would be funny because you'd have a captain who is very proper, very by the book, with Gordon. That could be freaking hilarious. Seeing as here are many captains, I'm thinking of changing my nickname to Donald Dumfries. Okay, I can't even read that, Hector. You go ahead and change your name to that, and I will never read your name again. Mr. Miles, you are a child. Yeah, relatively speaking, he absolutely is. How does Professor Hulk and other versions of the Hulk work? Is it the same guy? Well, yeah, the Hulk has gone through a lot of iterations over the many decades of his existence. Obviously, in the original version of the Hulk, it was pretty much like what we saw in the last few movies, where Bruce Banner is a mild-mannered scientist. When he gets angry, and actually, originally, it was under a full moon, he was like a werewolf, he would turn into this raging monster. Then, of course, Banner spent his life's work trying to figure out a way to cure himself of the Hulk. At one point, he got his mind fused with the Hulk's body, and he became what is referred to as Professor Hulk. This has happened a couple of times in the comics. I remember, for example, in the 80s, this was a thing for a while, where basically Hulk was a giant green super strong monster, but he was an incredibly intelligent scientist, and he didn't transform back and forth. Now then you have bits that get a little weird where somehow Bruce and Hulk get separated into two distinct creatures. How that happens, I don't really know. Then, of course, they get remerged. Then, of course, we have different iterations of the Hulk, including She-Hulk and, Red Hulk and Gray Hulk and all that. But for the most part, Hulk has always been Bruce Banner. Let's see. According to DC Fontana in the introduction of, Star Trek: The Classic Episodes 1, Anti-Trekker, when the mistake over the middle initial was discovered, Gene Roddenberry decided that if pressed for an answer on the discrepancy... Oh, dang, and there goes the chat exploding on me. The response was to be, Gary Mitchell had godlike powers, but he was human and he made a mistake. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Did you see Dominion Tank Police? Great series. No, I have not. Single best crap in Star Wars is Vader atop the stairs with the carbon freezing chainer with steam behind him. That was a beautiful shot. I assume that's what you meant instead of crap. Mr. Miles, I'm 48 in June. Congratulations, Kathleen. You're closer to my age. Gonna go grab Chinese. Chinese people? You be careful. That could be harassment. Antrigger, later Yoda is at his prime with technique. Earlier is in physical prime. Think of it like that. Well, when I say a Jedi in their prime, I would suggest that it is a Jedi at whatever their personal peak was, when they were the most effective Jedi that person had ever been. Haha, mine are VHS. Wow. How does anyone take Thanos seriously? He looks like the bald dude from Pawn Stars. Oh, man. That's good. I do like the Star-Lord said his nutsack of a chin. That was hilarious. Captain George says, true anti-checker, but I would still take a Clone Wars Yoda over any other version of Yoda due to his skill in the Force and his experience. Oh, I'm fine with that. But my point is that 5 Jedi would be a very difficult thing to overcome. And Vader cannot be in 5 different parts of the Death Star at once. So only one of them has to get to the reactor core to blow the thing. And Stormtroopers, what are they going to do? Come on, let's be real. What do you think the state of the world is after the snap in the MCU? Absolute chaos. And I hope that they show a little bit of this. I hope they explore it a little in Endgame. Because you think about it, if half the people in the world disappeared right now, now, of course, besides the fact that half, well, probably more like a quarter, because it would depend on airplanes where the pilot and co-pilot both disappeared. So about a quarter of the airplanes in flight would immediately crash. Half of all cars would immediately not have a driver and crash. You know, all this insane chaos. Now, also think about this. Places like nuclear reactors, half the staff is now gone. So you're going to have some problems there. Ships that are being piloted and half the crew is gone. What's going to happen there? And so the immediate after effect is absolute panic and chaos, as you know, because obviously a lot more than half of the people are going to die because all those people on airplanes and stuff like that are going to die as well. And then you have to start picking up the pieces, and there will always be the question of what the hell just happened. And everybody's going to be like, is it about to you know, is it going to happen to the rest of us? I'm sure that some people will think that it's like the rapture or something, but then they won't be able to figure out a distinct pattern because Thanos said it was truly random. And so, you know, you'll have, you know, it would be actually kind of interesting. You could set a whole series of movies in the post-snap world. I find it funny how STD lovers attack the Orville, get mad on it, but get mad on attacks on STD. Well, it's funny because to me, the people that attack the Orville generally attack it for being immature. To which I say, yeah, it is. It's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and I'm okay with that. So yeah, but if people want to get all, you know, and that's a common problem with people that believe in the SJW agenda, truly in their hearts are people that take themselves too seriously. They can't, and that's going to be a problem. Rey will always be in her prime. Well, true. Rey is in a case by herself. Peter's going to start dinner in a minute or two. Well, be sure to save some for me, Peter. Thanos looks kind of like Bruce Willis. I could kind of see that. Hey, Antracker, do you think the SJW wave is peaking and slowing down? Yes and no. I think that what we see when we see the fans, the backlash we've had over Star Wars, the backlash we had over Ghostbusters, even the backlash over just the perception of it being an SJW film over Captain Marvel, I do think that Hollywood is going to take notice, because Hollywood still worships the almighty buck, despite the fact that they may try to talk about their high and mighty principles. Luke in The Last Jedi is clearly peaked. Jedi Luke, freaking Rian Johnson. Mr. TV spot showed a lot of chaos at Ellis Island. Yes, it did. And I did, like I said, I hope they explore it a little bit. Then if that was the case, then all the Jedi would be Jedi Knights. I still cannot give it to the Jedi. They've got purged for a reason. 5 Jedi cannot take on more than 1 million troops. But you see, here's the problem, Captain George. So there might be 1 million troops on a Death Star. However, you can't bring them all to one section of the Death Star. The corridors aren't that wide, right? You can't have them completely overrun the Jedi, and the Jedi are split up, which means they're going to have to look for them. Now, also keep in mind, Captain George, that Luke, Han, Leia, and Obi-Wan were able to effectively sneak around the Death Star for some time. So, and Vader only found one of them. YouTube would still function. It's run by bots. Very true. I love The Last Jedi. I mean, we get a purple hair Haldo, flying Leia, and the best Luke we ever got. Mercer? Wow. Really? You're going to go there. But half of all SJWs are gone. A plus. Wow. John says, uncontrolled fires. There would definitely be uncontrolled fires in a post-snap world. How much of any country's governments would be gone too? Well, half. That's the thing. Is that basically half of everything. But yes. They keep saying Thanos eliminated 50% of all life, but it's actually all intelligent life. You're very correct on that. All life... But I think actually eliminating 50% of all life would not achieve what he was going for in terms of resources. Right, because he would have cut the resources in half along with the people. But yeah, it's clear he meant all sentient life, you could say. And that's what Hector just said, yes. Well, Hector probably said it 20 minutes ago as I'm trying to catch up. How does the Orville not get sued or shut down by CBS as it's so close to Star Trek? Because it's not that close to Star Trek. It is close formulaically, but you can't copyright a formula. If you want to say right now, I'm going to set a TV show on a spaceship, and the spaceship comes from Earth in the 23rd century and goes out and explores the galaxy and meets up with interesting people and hostile aliens and goes on adventures. Nothing about that is specifically Star Trek, even though everything about that is in Star Trek. So there is, and so you cannot copyright a general idea. Now, if you said, we're going to call the organization the United Federation of Planets, and their military wing is called Starfleet, but we're going to say it's not the military, even though it is the military. And we're going to call the aliens Klingons and Romulans and Borg. Well, now, obviously, you can't do that. But yeah, there's no grounds for a lawsuit. They have similarities, but nothing about the Orville is a direct ripoff of anything from Star Trek. Even the uniform colors are different. They don't have purple uniforms in Star Trek. They don't have orange uniforms in Star Trek. So, yeah. I hope you're having a semi-automatic day, says Darren. Hey, Darren, did you see the picture I sent you on Discord? Order 66 worked by surprise, plus those stormtroopers were not draftees, but clones built and trained for the task. Very true. And I don't think that, yeah, so if the Jedi knew the stormtroopers were going to attack, it would have been very different. Hey, Trekker, while Captain Marvel, the movie, wasn't necessarily an SJW mess, the marketing around the film is. Agreed, Philip. I think the marketing on that film was a horrible, horrible decision. 100%. Mercer says, gotta go to work. My cat survived the snap. Well, good for your cat, and I hope you have a productive day at work, Mercer. What happens if a woman is pregnant? Would the mother disappear and the fetus just remain? That's an interesting question, and I hope they don't answer that in there. Mrs. Anti-Trekkers here says, babe, I just tuned in. I can't see the chat list. That's right, because it's in the description. I moved it to the description because people like it better with a more clean look on the screen. Larry bringing the tough questions. Yeah, I don't know that I would want to know that one because, yeah. Or imagine the horror if you were a pregnant woman and your baby got snapped. Oh, that would be beyond rough. So I don't want him to go there. That would be too much. So let's see. Brett puts a link in. Kevin Feige says he also snuffed out half of all animal life. Well, if he did, that's interesting, but it would be impractical because he would destroy a lot of the food for the people that he was trying to preserve resources for. Hector says, "Hey, Mrs. A Trigger, good day. If you can read this, yes. If Thanos uses the reality stone, it looks like the realty stone, to say people never existed, wouldn't that destroy subsequent family generations and causing even more chaos?" Well, he doesn't say they never existed. He just wipes them out from existence, so they cease to exist. However, using the time stone, he could erase you from the past, which would have some bizarre consequences. Entry, yesterday you said fully automatic, but I heard fully automatic. I'm out of here. May the force be with you all. Have a good one, Captain George. Thanks for stopping by for your monthly visit. Thomas says, Darren is watching a stream. Why ask him to check Discord? No, I asked him if he did check Discord because I sent him yesterday. For those of you that don't know, Darren and me and a couple others were having a discussion about automatic versus semi-automatic versus auto versus 3-round burst on military-grade weapons. And so I sent him a picture showing the selector switch on a M16A2. Ryan Johnson was more destructive to the Star Wars universe than the Empire was. 100% true. Josh says, didn't Thomas kill more than half of all humans since a few of those people were pilots? Well, that's what I was saying earlier, is that about a quarter, based on the fact that most airplanes have 2 pilots, a pilot and co-pilot. So that means that probably around a quarter of the planes in the sky disappeared. Any planes where the pilot and co-pilot both disappeared. Darren said, saw the picture just now, I believe it. Cool. Mrs. Antricker says, oh, okay, because, boy, I'm far behind. And Thomas is trying to say, hi, Mrs. A.R. Is that a James T. Kirk mistake there? And Mrs. Antricker says, hi, back to Thomas. Yeah, you better leave my wife alone, Thomas. You need a bridge setting behind you. Go with the bridge of the day. For example, Monday TNG, Tuesday TOS, Wednesday Orville. I will do something like that once the I have the lighting set up and stuff. Because here's the problem. If I switch to something that is not as dark as the fish tank, it becomes painfully obvious how bad the screen is currently set up. So you can look at that. That looks absolutely horrible. And so the biggest problem with that is not is not the software or the webcam. It's the lighting in here and the way that I have the actual green screen material set up. So I need to get that taken care of before I start rotating out other images. Josh says, Ebony Mom, write more animations for Joshua. And Ebony Mom is taken off. Thanks for stopping by, babe. Yoga versus Q. Who's more powerful? Well, Yoga is definitely more attractive than Q. And Luke says, hello there. Ha, ha, ha. Good to see you, Luke. Philip says, Thanos' plan is dumb. Aside from the fact that he destroys the economy of multiple societies, what does reducing the population achieve? In a few years, it'll be overpopulated again. Not necessarily, Philip. And that's there was actually, I'm trying to remember who did it. I can't remember, was this Film Theory or someone else? It was actually broke down how the snap could work. And there is an argument to be made that the sustainable population, if you cut them in half like that, would actually sustain at the half level, and rather than overnight in a generation double again. Because if it was true that we continue to reproduce at the same rate, then the Earth would be shoulder-to-shoulder people already, and would have been some time ago. Bonjour, Luke, says Marlena. 3-round burst Foley, yes. You don't want that, let me tell you. We need some Parisian tune for each time Luke appears. I do need to do something like that. I am not Thanos. You called Thanos me. Sorry. Well, Thomas, Thanos, they look the same. And you guys do look a lot alike. Thanos Potts. Something sounds off. I was really hoping for Grey Hulk before we get Merged Hulk. I was kind of hoping for Grey Hulk as well, but I'll be okay with Professor Hulk if that is what happens. I know that's what the rumors are, but I don't know that anything's confirmed. Thomas is really bloodthirsty. I'm happy he isn't Thanos. Well, you should be really happy that Zoom is not Thanos, because an Irish Thanos would be freaking nuts. Has Foley been around here in a while? Foley was here last night. Yoda versus Q, stupid autocorrect. I knew that's what you meant, but I just like the yoga thing. I thought that was hilarious. Yoda versus Q. Q would basically just snap his fingers and Yoda would be gone. There's no real contest there. While the Force is very powerful, don't get me wrong, and if Captain George is listening, I'm not saying the Force sucks, Captain George. What I'm saying is that The Force is not an insta-kill switch, right? Even the Emperor unleashing the full power of the dark side doesn't instantly kill Luke with his lightning, right? The Force doesn't do that. However, Q can do, and you're gone. So it would have to go to Q. And let's see. Kathleen says hi to Luke. Foley usually comes in during Discovery reviews and then gets upset about the negativity. That's true. He always comes in when I'm going on a tirade about something. And then the funny thing is, half the time when he comes in, I just said something positive about the show and he missed it. But yeah. And that's all right. Foley doesn't like negativity, and I'm cool with that because, you know, not everybody likes negativity all the time. And even I don't like negativity all the time. And I'm, you know, kind of I mean, like, I look at channels like Geeks and Gamers and The Quartering, and I just shake my head because they just have to be negative all the time. And it's like, I want to hear, you know, and positive, their idea of being positive is, hey, let's celebrate the failure of something. I don't care for that. And so while I do rant and rave about the content of various shows and stuff, I also, in my humble opinion, try to call it like I see it, and I try to compliment a show when I see something good. And Foley has been, by the way, Hector, don't be too hard on Foley for not hanging with us as much as he has. He has been very, very busy. I happen to know that for a fact, because Foley and I do communicate a little on the side. So, you know, it's not like he and I are no longer friends or anything like that. In fact, we just recorded another set of discussions for the Trek Yards channel. And by the way, Foley is going to be in Colorado at the end of April. If there's any way I can be there, I will try, but I don't know that I can because I don't really have any time I can take off from work. But I'm happy for him there. But yeah, Foley has been definitely busy. Be back real quick. I heard no more trailers for Endgame. Wouldn't be surprised. I haven't heard anything on that officially. The only good thing in that movie are the visuals. Not sure what that movie is, Hector. Let's see. Man, I got lost in the comments here. I'm sorry if I missed you because I'm behind, but I'll just pick up where I see here. Oh, there we go. I found Hector's comment that I wasn't sure what movie he's talking about. Commander Ironwolf says, Anti-Checker, I find it very funny how different his motives are in the movie as opposed to the comic books, in that he just wanted to bring bang death, so kill half the people in the universe. That should impress her. Yeah, I like what they did with Thanos in the movie. As far as that change, I think it was a positive one. Would artificial life count as half of all life? In Laura Reloaded's opinion, yes. In my opinion, no. Because I don't think artificial life is life. Darren says, Anti-Checker, I have to nitpick. I maintain that the Merged Hulk and Professor Hulk are two totally different concepts as a result of poor writing decisions. Well, here's the thing. Merged Hulk, I mean, as far as, like, if you're talking about back in the 80s when Hulk was merged, I think they just referred to that as Merged Hulk. As far as Professor Hulk, that was like a specific storyline, but it was basically the same idea. I've never read Professor Hulk, but my understanding is it's just the Hulk with Bruce Banner's brain, which is the same thing as Merged Hulk. But, you know, either way, I'm not opposed to it being in the film as long as it's done well. But can Q even affect a Force ghost? That's an interesting question, Bird. At least in Trek, we have not seen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've ever seen anything that was impervious to Q. Because Q basically seems to have access to what you might call a mini version of the Reality Stone from MCU, where he can alter reality around him. Now, he's not omnipotent, despite the fact that he likes to say he is, because he can't necessarily affect reality on a universal scale, but he can do it around him. The Force depends on the user. Oftentimes, the ancient Sith were able to destroy stone pillars with their lightning. Well, the problem is if you're going to bring in legend stuff, you might be able to make a case for that. But I'm just saying what we've seen on screen. I don't think we've ever seen a Force user literally just insta kill someone. And if Captain George were here, I would ask him, because he's the expert on canonical sources that I am not exposed to, like the animated shows and stuff. But I've never seen an example of that. But even if I did, if it takes any amount of time for it to happen, then Q still wins. Let's see. Luke says, I wasn't thrilled by it. I assume you're talking about Captain Marvel here. To say the least, it's cool visually, but he miscast the main actors and didn't really catch the feeling of the comic. Are you talking about Captain Marvel or something else? Because you said the main actors, plural, and my only real problem with Captain Marvel was the main actor, period. Imagine Hawkeye wife, I'm pregnant, and then she turns her head and her stomach is dust falling from the camera, pans around two of the Hawkeye kids, dusted his old dog in the pan. I think that's why Hawkeye looks kind of dark in the upcoming film. I think his family was dusted. And Anti-Checker just pan out and screams, yes. Negativity is only acceptable when Foley is being negative. He's too hypocritical. Oh, stop it, Starch. You're being mean. I agree that sometimes people take it too far. And I know that when I go negative, I get pretty aggressive. And for some people, that rubs them the wrong way. When Foley gets negative, he doesn't get aggressively negative like I do. So, and for some people can handle it, some people can't. Mr. Captain said I had to unsubscribe to Geeks and Gamers. Yeah, I couldn't take their stuff. They go too far, in my humble opinion. That's not to say if you like Geeks and Gamers, that's cool. Not for me. When we see your chats with Trek Yards, knowing them probably about a month. Remember, Foley won't be home at the end of April, so we can get his chair. That's true, Thomas. Very good. Remember, there is a reward out for anybody. Well, except that he's probably going to take his chair with him, because he's going to a con. That's not fair to the quartering. Jeremy makes plenty of positive videos, and it's not because he hates something. Watch more of his content before he make broad statements like that. Fair enough. I don't watch the quartering regularly, but everything I've seen of him has been pretty negative. And it seems like, I mean, it's like he can't say woman, he has to say wahman. You know, he basically throws those little insulting terms every time he talks about something, and I think that's taking it a bit much. I think that while the insult, the wahman thing, like I even have a super chat called wahman, but I think that pushing it like that makes you out to be exactly what the other side thinks you are. And I'm not saying that Jeremy is a bad person. I'm certainly not saying that. I'm not saying that he believes that women are bad. I'm sure he loves a good number of women out there. But if all you say is wahman, that's what you come across as. And I don't want to hear that. I want to hear some positive stuff mixed in. Now, like you said, he does do some positive stuff. Great. I haven't heard it. But that's cool if he does. But I also don't have time to watch everything he does because I just don't. Quick, everyone type random stuff to throw off Anti-Trekker. I'm already thrown off. Hit the thumbs up or Burnham will get you. Ooh, that's kind of scary. Luke says, Anti-Trekker, well, it depends on which path you choose for growing viewership, the hard-working, high-training way or the quicker, easier path. Well, that is true. Paint lore green and have Hulk lore super chat. More than half of the quartering videos are negative these days. Everything I've seen from him has been, but like I said, I'm sure that it just happens to be the subject matter. She wasn't impervious, but Q seemed to view Guinan as a threat. Yeah, I want to know what the hell was with that, and they never, ever followed up with it. Q never ever touched any Borg with his powers, just saying. He never did, but that doesn't mean he couldn't. We don't know. I believe the channels that concentrate on negativity will start to drop off as circumstances change. I agree, Kathleen. And that's why I'm okay with the relatively slow growth of my channel. Because a lot of these channels, I mean, Geeks and Gamers was like the size of my channel not too long ago. Right? Now they're freaking huge. And there are a lot of channels like that were like smaller than mine or the size of mine, and then it just exploded, right? With all the stuff going on in the SJW wars. However, that being said, my channel's just been kind of slowly, steadily growing. And I have a feeling that if the SJW war ends, then those channels are going to be left with nothing to do while I will just continue tooting right along. Let's see. The merged Hulk is created and maintained by Peter David was all three of the Hulk's personalities, Bruce, Gray, and Classic, merged into a cohesive personality. Okay. That I did not know, Darren. Young Q did play around with the Borg and the Voyager episode. Yeah, but did they show him I'm trying to remember. I remember when old Q said don't provoke the Borg, but I don't remember what he did. I hate canon. Legends is so much better. Well, yeah, but you're stuck with it. And Peter Quinn is sending a link for 20 real torture chambers because Peter's a freak, I guess. Luke says, I was talking about Valerian. Oh, I haven't seen Valerian. So I can't comment on that one. Why isn't artificial life alive if we deem it sentient? Or would you claim only biological beings can be sentient? Loquacious primate, I think it is. I would, in fact, claim that only biological life forms can be sentient. Anything that you get out of a artificial life form is a simulation of life, not life. Would Ghostbusters Gozer be a Q? Not necessarily. Ghostbusters Gozer has very specific abilities and is actually relatively limited. And it is the Destructor that is the most powerful thing. And but Gozer only brings the Destructor in. She's not the, so yeah. I too have gotten a little tired of Captain Marvel hate out there from the quartering and other channels. Yeah, it's a bit much. Only feminists are wahman. He calls other women women. Okay, maybe it's just because I've seen a lot of his videos have to do with Captain Marvel or Star Trek or stuff like that, and all I hear him say is wahman. Warman, that's Geordie for saying our friend, a family member who is a man. Well, no, wahman is the insulting term that many people who are not SJWs have been referring to women that they think are SJWs. I'm not even sure where wahman came from. I'm not a big fan of that particular term, even though I do, like I said, have a super chat dedicated to that name. And there's the fish won't stop nibbling on my head. I'm going to dedicate my channel to complaining about your channel. I expect to go far. you might. Mecca got too negative for me. She has nothing positive to say. She does sometimes, but I think she's a little more negative than I can be. But I still like her. And that's the thing. It's like, just because, now I know Mecca better than I don't know Jeremy at all. So Mecca, I understand a little bit. Jeremy, I don't, because I don't know him. And that's really the difference. I don't mind Geeks and Gamers negativity. What I despise, however, is his shallow content. All he does is being angry about specific stuff. No depth, no width, no content. I stopped watching Geeks and Gamers a while ago because, yeah, I kind of... It just felt like it was the same video every single time. I want to know what El-Orients have to do with the Q. I would love to know that too. How can an El-Orient fight a Q? How can anyone fight a Q? Let's see. Man, I am just like really messed up here in the comments. I'm going to try to, well, we'll see. Enter, remember when Deadpool said, use all your imaginary powers to stop him? I hear that in my head now when I see Guinan pointing his hands at Q. Not bad. I definitely, that's good. Should Isaac wear a uniform? He'd have to officially join the union. Yes and no. I mean, I could see him wearing a uniform, but I think that would look stupid. I say leave him the way he is. And then just paint the Union emblem on him or something. So Data and Isaac are talking toasters in your definition. Yes. Working on a private Star Trek content, the ship is on a mission of mineral exploration. Okay. Proxima says, I think PewDiePie came up with wahman. Well, that would explain why I have no idea where it came from, because I've never watched PewDiePie ever. Happy Mecha Random is more fun to watch than unhappy Mecha Random. I agree with you there. It's good to see the shark still being a camera hog. Yeah, I don't know what's with the shark lately, but the shark is definitely a camera hog. We never ever see Q touch any Borg with his powers, just saying. Yeah, I don't recall ever, but I do know that Q told young Q to not provoke them. Geeks and Gamers makes funny stuff, and I have some points here and there, but it is also true that his whole channel is mechanically toxic in the sense that at times I feel like it's more hate-mongering. Yeah, I think that's fair. I would love to see a Pike Star Trek series. Based on what we've seen in Star Trek Discovery, I would as well. I would absolutely love to see... in fact, it's too bad that they made a big deal out of number one being on in Star Trek Discovery, and she was in the show for all of 30 seconds. But I would actually think it would be interesting with that Pike, that number 1, and yes, that Spock on their own series could actually be pretty good. The fish definitely know they're on camera now, yes. We never see Q touch a Bolian with their powers either, just saying. That's true, but we have seen the Q and the Borg in the same room. So, there's that. Only keep Mary Sue's away in that... Whoa, jeez. Now the blue fish is like... Get! Anyway, so, well, I'm glad you like them, Darren. I truly am. And let's see. Who is the Red Angel? In my humble opinion, the Red Angel is Michael Burnham. I think that it's clear that the Red Angel is female, and it's also clear that it is not Tilly. I don't know why people keep thinking it's Tilly, but Tilly has a very large chest. The Red Angel does not. I think that the Red Angel is definitely Burnham. And stupid fish. I'd be concerned they made a Pike show, they would get bossed around by number 1, or like he does now with Burnham. Well, that's the thing, and that's my biggest problem right now with the recent episodes of Discovery, is that Pike is freaking awesome unless Burnham is in the same room with him. So that's definitely a problem. Now, you see, now the bluefish wants to be a camera hog. Whatever. The Red Angel is Dr. Polanski. No. The body looks female. Could just be soy Spock. I doubt that because I don't think Spock ever had hips like that. Hey, Anti-Checker, did you and the family get the car transmission stuff figured out? Yeah, we kind of just her car is sitting in the garage. We're going to probably end up donating it to the church to fix because we just don't have the funds to get it taken care of, and we're just going to save up to get her a new car once we get things on track. It's just one of those things where Mrs. Antrecker doesn't like it, but she's driving the truck for the things she needs to do. And she, like I said, she's not a fan of driving the truck, but she will deal with it until we can get a replacement car for her. Doomcock is just like Geeks and Gamers. Now, I haven't watched Doomcock in a little while. I haven't had time, so I don't know what he's been doing lately. What if the scale and unified mind of the collective, what was prevented from Q from intervening on the Borg made them fear any close encounter? That could be. That was actually, if the combined intelligence of the Borg was enough to intimidate a Q. That's actually interesting. I like that. Loquacious Primate says, I think there's no way to know if beings that don't share a biological basis structurally similar to us is sentient. But I don't believe that it's impossible for data to be sentient, just indeterminable. Well, it's definitely indeterminable on an ultimate level because sentience is a subjective experience. The only way to prove sentience is to know that you yourself are sentient. However, it depends on where... I honestly, it gets down to philosophy and theology more than science because you cannot prove or disprove sentience. You cannot prove or disprove a soul, if you will. And so, I don't think you can synthesize it. That's just my own personal philosophical stance. I could be wrong. I'm perfectly open to being wrong. But as of right now, I've not heard a good argument to why a computer can become a living thing. I think the Red Angel could be Tilly. The body shapes match up pretty good. I disagree, Brian. The body shapes do not match up at all. Tilly is bigger around the middle and much bigger in the chest. Doomcock is funny, but I'd like to see Happy Doomcock. Yeah, I would like to see a Happy Doomcock too, but unfortunately I know that he really hates Discovery, so I haven't heard his reaction to the last episode. I wonder what he thought of the last episode because I actually liked it. It's the first Discovery episode that I actually liked. Red Angel doesn't care about the universe. We already see the Angel save Mikey Spock. Well, and that's the thing. I still think the Red Angel is Mikey Spock. I say the Red Angel is CGI, so what's your point? Data is a fancy toaster. very much correct. And in fact, like, because some of the things that they do in Star Trek is so contradictory, but Data, I mean, how many times has Data, just because of a programming glitch, turned into a villain? Or completely, you know, and I know people argue, well, brain damage and stuff, but it's not the same thing. We don't have switches that we can do and just, you know, hey, get on your computer terminal and change the code. It doesn't work that way for humans. And so, but yeah, I don't buy that Data is a living being. Trekker, did you saw the Red Letter Media review of Captain Marvel? I like their description of the whole controversy. I've not. The only thing I like from Red Letter Media, honestly, is their Plinkett reviews. Brian says, you disagreed with me? Hey, you're not getting rid of me from this channel that easily. Oh, darn, I tried. On TNG, Kevin Uxbridge, who was Dowd, was able to wipe out an entire race with a thought. In terms of the Borg, I wonder how the Q compared to the Dowd. I'd have to rewatch that one. I don't know. It has no sex until it becomes... oh, so you're saying that because it's CG, it has no sex until it becomes a practical suit someone puts on. Well, here's the thing, Hector. Hulk is entirely CG. Does that mean Hulk is without gender? No. Hulk is clearly a male. The Red Angel, we have now seen the first clear shot of the Red Angel that we saw. It was clearly a female form. All right, and if you don't like that, that's fine, but I'm sorry, it's a female. And if they try to retcon that to being a male, they better come up with a dude that's got some seriously womanly hips. It's definitely a philosophical question. I have a philosophy degree and studied consciousness stuff quite a bit. I can send you the best argument I have that the AI could be sentient. Loquacious, if you want to do that, you can send it to me on Discord or at antitrekker.com. I would love to read it. Pulaski did nothing wrong. Well, she existed. Luke says, Antitrekker, the only artificial intelligence I consider alive in sci-fi is one that fits the description of behavior of a life form. It also has to have spontaneous origin, not careful craft. Well, and that's, you see, that's the problem, is that most of the time, here's the typical sci-fi trope. They built a computer so advanced that it just became alive. No. Sorry. No. I could keep I have 128 gigabytes of RAM in my computer. I could keep putting RAM in this computer for all eternity, and it's never going to just suddenly become sentient. Heck, they did it with the Discovery ship computer. The Red Angel is a slim, shapely woman. That is true, Peter. Even more so than Data, I don't believe Star Trek holograms like the EMH or Voyager or any form. No, the Voyager's hologram, the EMH, is a program. He is a sim. He's like, if you play The Sims, that's the EMH. He's just the Dr. Sim. Luke says, for example, the Cylons are a conscious sentient life form. Well, the Cylons are interesting because they actually look biological on the inside, even though they say that they're constructs. And, you know, that is kind of interesting. I don't know quite how they do that. Are you doing a St. Patrick's Day stream? More than likely, yes. And let me see. It was St. Patrick's Day. That's on Sunday, isn't it? I think it is. And Brett throws 5 fake Australian dollars into the chat. Thank you so much, Brett. I do appreciate it. Of course, you can pick one of the super chats or Uber chats in the list below if you so choose. So, but you didn't leave a comment. You just threw it at me, and I really, really like when people throw me money. So thank you, my friend. Let me see. St. Patrick's Day 2019. Yes, it's this Sunday. So I will try to get Mrs. Antitrekker to join me for a live stream on Sunday, and we'll have some whiskey or something. I think it's possible the Red Angel will turn out to be Discovery's future AI. That is a possibility, but then where did the body come from? I used to lock my Sims in a room with no toilet until they died. That's weird. So are cyborgs sentient life? If you mean cyborgs in that they're biological creatures that have cybernetic implants, yes, because they started as biological creatures. Just like if you have a person who has their leg blown off in the war and they get an artificial leg, they are still a person. The whole holographic light, There goes the chat again. Holographic life right stuff in Voyager turned me right off. Yeah, me too. If the Hulk has male parts, wouldn't his pants rip when he grows? Yeah, well, remember, they actually kind of sort of addressed that in Thor Ragnarok. But self-learning software is another story. Well, except that self-learning software doesn't formulate opinions. It simply gathers information. Ham 1978 were life forms too. They didn't look like they had any flesh. I'm not sure which time out there, Luke. We can always force lore into the Red Angel suit. That would be interesting. 1978 Cylons, yes. They did not have any flesh on the inside. They were simply robots built by lizards. And Trigger, your computer isn't self-learning, self-improving computer. Once that is constantly rewriting itself, improving itself. So of course it won't become sentient, no matter how advanced. Well, but here's the thing. Your self-learning is one thing. Self-improving is another. Self-learning just means, and in fact, you could argue that a computer is any computer is self-learning. If you're downloading information, it is learning something. It might not be anything in particular. When did they address Hulk's junk in Ragnarok? When Hulk got out of the hot tub in front of Thor, and he was like, oh, I didn't need to see that, or something like that. Self-learning doctors are better than some of the real doctors I know. Okay. The only reason to get the sweet treats pack. Now that is the only reason to get the sweet treats pack. Okay. I don't think being alive is necessarily a requisite function of having consciousness. It might just go along with it for us, but since we are alive and probably consider life necessary for sentience. I think that life is absolutely necessary for consciousness, but that's just my personal opinion. And Trigger, if Ebony Mom made a successful YouTube channel, you would be the Mr. Ebony Dad and the unseen voice on her stream. That is correct. However, she has no intention on creating her own YouTube channel. She has no desire to do so, but she does enjoy popping in every now and then with us and helping Joshua with the Super Chats. Oh, I conveniently turned that hot tub scene out when I saw it. Oh, well, there you go. No, I have years of computer science and a year of AI study. You are so wrong, Anti-Tracker. Well, Hector, I understand. Look, I'm not saying that computer programs can't be designed to absorb more information, process that information, and do things with that information. However, I do not believe that there has been a computer that is sentient, and I do not believe that it is possible. I think you can simply have it collect and amass information and process it in pre-programmed ways. You need an Orville-style USS Anti-Tracker. I agree. Just tuned in. First thing I heard was when they all addressed Hulk's junk. Yes, that's all we need. Is yes, in Thor Ragnarok, Thor gets to see what the Hulk is really working with. I guess it depends on the definition of life. That's also debatable and a philosophical question. Well, that is a problem. We don't know, what makes a living thing a living thing. And life is a fascinating thing, and you could argue. And the problem is that since there's really no basis of proof, we could argue until we're both blue in the face, and neither one of us budge, and both of us give great arguments. The problem is that there's no genuine solution to the question right now. Is Ultron sentient? That's an interesting question, Peter. I would say no. Ultron is a very advanced computer program. But really the question is Vision sentient? And I would argue that Vision might be sentient with the Mind Stone in him, but if they were successful with their plan of removing the Mind Stone, then he would no longer be sentient. We need an Orville bottle opener. That's actually a great idea. I'm surprised they haven't done that. Thor Fraggle Rock was hilarious. It was. If you upload your brain to a computer, a copy, you live forever, but you are dead. It's just a copy. But you see, here's and the thing is, until we actually do it, if you could upload someone's memories to a computer bank, which we can't, but if you could, and then you disconnect it, and the computer continued to behave exactly as the person, you might have a argument. And I think that would be an interesting experiment if it could be done. BIRDOPREY says, Anti-Tracker does not think Optimus Prime is sentient. Well, Optimus Prime is obviously a fantasy character because where do, and I'm sure at some point in the lore it might be explained, where do the Autobots and the Decepticons ultimately come from? What did they evolve from? What is their origin? I genuinely don't know because I just don't. Vision would go back to being Jarvis. Yeah. And Jarvis was not sentient. And neither is Friday. AIs don't enjoy being alive, and they don't want to do anything beyond their programming. They don't work to stay alive and reproduce. The only thing sci-fi AI have for themselves is self-awareness. That is true. Cybertron. Well, yeah, I know they're from Cybertron, BIRDOPREY. I mean, what is their actual origin? Because they're machines, right? They're supposedly intelligent living machines. So did... if you kind of compare it, and I know it's an oversimplification, but if you compare it to, say, abiogenesis on Earth, are you trying to say that on ancient Cybertron, a lightning bolt hit an ore deposit and created a living mechanical device? So, I don't buy that. Are dogs sentient, is what Zoom was asking. Don't know. Dogs, an interesting thing with animals compared to humans. Animals, while they can be trained and they can change their behavior, most animals basically can't go beyond their emotions, where humans can. Humans have true intellect. It seems that animals don't. That animals react on an emotional level to pretty much everything. And so, for example, we have a dog. We love Puka. Puka's an adorable little dog. But is Puka capable of intellectual thought, or is Puka simply capable of emotional response? I would argue that Puka is only capable of emotional response. And it's that intellectual side that I believe makes us sentient. On the eighth day, God created robots in disguise. That's what it was. I went to Walmart earlier. There was no self-awareness or sentience in that entire store. Peter says, VATs are sentient. They train us. I'm not sure what you mean there. This term is self-consciousness. Okay. Lightning made number 5 sentient. Well, in that movie, yes. And Autobots were created as servant worker type roles, while Decepticons were designed for warfare, but both were created by the same alien species. So, and Zoom wants me to read his last comment. So, first of all, Mr. Miles, if that's true, and I don't know all the lore on the Transformers, but if that's true, if they were created by an alien species, one was created as a warrior robots, basically drones, and the other was created as domestic robots, basically Zumbas, then that's all they are, Zumbas and drones, and their programming has made them fight each other. That does not make them sentient. The Transformers were created by Primus, who created by the Quintessons. No idea who those are. So I read your last comment, and I don't know. Cats, says Peter Quinn. Must have missed something. Oh, cats are sentient. They train us. Gotcha, cats. Puka is lunch in Zoom's eyes. That's very true. Zoom will never get to meet Puka. So it's Quintessons created the Transformers. Okay. I kind of view Ultron as kind of like the Doctor from Voyager. Originally a program, but evolved beyond its programming. That makes sense. Except that you don't just evolve beyond your programming. A computer doesn't just suddenly start doing things that it was not programmed to do. And I know people will argue, oh, but they're adaptive programming. Yes, but they were programmed to be adaptive. And you know what it's not going to do? It's not going to suddenly say, hey, you know what? Braveheart was a great movie. And Transformers were actually created by Marvel Comics for Hasbro. Well, that is also true, and I have the original Transformers miniseries in my comic book collection. The alien race created the first Transformer, then he created the first Transformer, and then he created the Transformers. But don't forget the Transmorphers. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's a real movie. I think a good way to come up with proper artificial life form would be to craft a self-replicating microbots imitating microbes, add the ability to mutate, then come back a few billion years later. That could be, Luke. And you know what that would do? It would be like that Futurama episode where the professor does exactly that, except that time works a lot, faster than that. But, and in fact, the problem is that then you start getting into the argument, well, does that mean that, because people try to argue that humans are no different than computers, that the human brain is no different than a computer, and that's where a lot of this argumentation comes from. However, this is the interesting thing about that. If you want to argue that life and consciousness can be manufactured, then we would have to turn to, well, can it come about in a non-manufactured way, or does that mean that there must be a God that programmed the first humans? Endgame will be depressing. I doubt that, Mercer. I think there's going to be some depressing moments. Like, I do believe that we're going to see the end of Captain America and probably the end of Iron Man, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be a depressing film. Unless Thanos beats the crap out of everybody and then Captain Marvel swoops in and just beats the crap out of Thanos. That would be depressing. 1, do dogs have souls in your opinion? 2, and 2, only beagles, for only $9.99 you can get beagle bites and zooms. Oh, okay. So you only want beagles, so Puka's safe. Do dogs have souls? No clue. As far as from a theological standpoint, there's no reference, at least in the great monotheistic religions, there's no reference to animal souls. However, that's not to say that they don't exist. That's only to say that they are not important enough for it to be listed as something for us to be concerned with. Question for the Transformer aficionados. Are there any Transformers origin comics? That's a good question. I don't know. Antchecker, yes, that's basically correct. They're fighting each other based off programming from their creators, but they recognize it as the way we recognize our animal instinct. Except that they can't seem to get past it. But that's the thing. And here's the problem, Mr. Miles, and this is true of any fictional universe. Whether or not Isaac is truly sentient, or the Transformers are truly sentient, or anything else in a fictional universe that is a synthetic or artificial life form is sentient, is solely based on the imagination of the writer, right? Because that writer is, in essence, God for that universe, right? That writer can make anything the rules that they want to make. And I see it's feeding time for the fish. So you see all that stuff floating down. But so basically, in a fictional world, you can make it so that absolutely they are sentient or absolutely they are not. However, in the real world, I do not believe that sentience is capable by a machine. That's just my gut reaction. At least not in anywhere near the way that we see in film. Captain Marvel cannot take the glory from the original Avengers. I certainly hope not, yeah. I saw a Left Behind review. Dogs were left behind after the rapture. Well, I personally happen to agree with a very wise pastor that I know who says that the whole concept of the rapture is bad theology, but that's another discussion. The Enterprise computer is smarter than Data. It created Moriarty and could outthink him. Why does Starfleet want ships of Data, as Dave said, measure a man? They just need a holodeck. Yeah. And that's the thing. Star Trek writes themselves into a corner in the next-gen era with that. Because if Starship computers are capable of creating sentient life forms at the drop of a hat, then what do you need a Starship crew for? Why don't you just put holodeck emitters? Oh, wait, on Discovery, apparently holo emitters are everywhere in the ship, so just put holographic emitters everywhere on the ship and man the ship entirely with holograms. Oh, wait, but the holograms are all sentient, and so they're going to take over. Then we'll have a war of the holograms. Why not? Wasn't the really old Transformer they found in the museum one of the films of Decepticon? Yes. But he was a Decepticon that, like, switched sides or something. I don't know. But again, fictional universe, they can break the rules. All living things have certain level of consciousness. Dog and cat may not be near our level, but there's the same level of understanding that no real life machine can achieve. I tend to agree with that, Philip. And while I don't necessarily think that dogs and cats are truly sentient in the way that humans are, like I said, I think that they have genuine emotions, and that's the funny thing. People say, oh, but of course they're sentient. Look at, they love us. Yes, they do love us, or they, in the case of cats, they tolerate us. But but that doesn't mean they can go beyond that emotional level. And you can change their instincts, and this is the programming capable on an animal. You can change the instincts of that animal through repetition and training, but all you're doing is changing their emotional response. The Pope says dogs go to heaven? Okay. Well, if I was Catholic, then I would say dogs go to heaven. But I'm not Catholic, so I can stick with the I don't know answer. Let's see. Entry, we'll see a mobile holo emitter in season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. I wouldn't put it past them. Well, yeah, why not? People will be mourning half the population. Hardly an uplifting idea. True, but I do believe that by the snap apocalypse will be undone in the film. It was undone in the comic books by Nebula. And I would love to see them. In fact, here's what I think they should do. I don't think they will, but what I think they should do is to mirror the original Infinity Gauntlet story in the second film. And in the Infinity Gauntlet story, if you've never read it, it's really good. But the Infinity Gauntlet starts with the snap. And then the heroes are all going, whoa, what the hell just happened? Because Thanos did not come to Earth to get the Infinity Stones. He had already gathered them. And he starts off with the snap. Half the life in the universe is wiped out. And then the heroes decide they need to do something. They find out it's Thanos because Silver Surfer warns them. And then they hatch plans to try and stop Thanos. They fail miserably over and over. The cosmic beings of the universe, what they refer to in the MCU as Celestials, they get together and they try to stop Thanos and they fail. And then Thanos decides to transcend physical reality, so he decides to become a god, quite literally, and leave his physical body and just become one with the universe. As he does that, Nebula, who he had been torturing the whole time, and of course we saw that Thanos likes to torture Nebula in Infinity War Part 1, or in Infinity War, I mean. So Nebula being tortured this whole time, while Thanos is transcending the physical form, goes to his physical body that Thanos is no longer in, snatches the gauntlet and puts it on, and then the first thing she does is undo the snap. But then she decides to take ultimate power, and all the heroes and Thanos have to stop Nebula with the Infinity Gauntlet. And I would love to see that on film. Chris Farley is Thanos, the Beverly Hills Ninja. I am one with the universe. That's just wrong. All right, guys. I do need to wrap it up. I got to get ready for work in a little bit. So thank you all for hanging out with me for this last almost 2 hours. And you guys are awesome. I can't think of a better crowd to hang out with online. Substitute Nebula with Captain Marvel. We have a winner. I don't know, Darren. I think Captain Marvel, I don't think she's going to save the day. At least I hope not. I truly do. I think that ultimately the ultimate victory needs to be at the hands of Captain America and Iron Man. It just has to. That's how you end them.